Hey guys, my name's Allison. I was an ALT on the JET program from 2018 to 2020, and currently I'm a grad student in Tokyo. So I thought it would be fun to go through my expenses, my bills, my pay stubs. I think when you look at the JET salary, especially from like an American perspective at least, it doesn't seem like a lot of money at all. But in Japan, this actually works out to be quite a decent amount of money in my opinion. But if you're a bit financially irresponsible like me, then the money will disappear quite quickly. Let's watch and find out how. Okay, so the base salary for a second year JET is 300,000 yen. So this is actually a really decent sum, first of all, like for Japan. I was really surprised when I talked to my Japanese teachers who are about the same age as me about this. And they were actually making about the same amount as me or even less for doing way more work and having more responsibility than me. So actually we're in like a really lucky situation, I feel. So let's go through the expenses and see how I managed to waste $3,000 a month. So first let's go through the things that were deducted from my pay stub automatically. I never even saw the money. That would be health insurance for 13,888 yen a month. Pension for 25,620 yen a month, and then employment insurance for 900 yen a month. So I'm going to talk about this more later, but you also might have residence tax automatically deducted. It really depends on your contracting organization for this, but I'm going to talk about that later. So let's get into the basic expenses category. This one's going to vary wildly based on just where you are. If you're in Tokyo, your numbers are gonna be quite a bit higher than mine here. So for rent, because I was in a teacher housing apartment, so my rent was, my second year, it was 19,000 yen a month. Very, very, very reasonable. Of course, if you're in Tokyo, this can be as high as maybe 80,000 or more. So my water bill was always about the same every month. It was 3,200. And then gas, because I was in the countryside, I think that this is quite a bit higher than if I were in a city, I've learned. So even in like summer, I was paying about 4,500 yen a month. And in winter, this number would go up to around 7,000 yen. So for electric, I paid anywhere from 2,500 yen to 12,000 yen. I know what you're thinking, this is a huge gap. That is because in the months where I don't use the air conditioner, it's really cheap. But then in winter and summer, where my air conditioning unit is used to both heat my house and cool it down because I don't want to deal with the whole gas furnace thing, it can get quite expensive. But actually my air conditioner broke like right at the beginning of my second year, so I had to get a new used one. And once I got this new one installed, it was about 10 years newer, my electric bills went down significantly, and that winter I saved about 5,000 yen a month on electricity. So it really paid for itself just in that. So just something to keep in mind, depending on your unit, you could be paying a ton of money or it could be really, really low. So for internet, mine was about 5,500 yen a month. I think this is pretty standard. You could maybe do a little bit cheaper if you have pocket Wi-Fi, but... So for transportation, I had a car. So I never really took the trains anywhere. And the car thing is a bit complicated. So for now, let's just say I spent about 5,000 yen a month on gas for myself. So moving on to food, I spent around 20,000 yen a month on groceries. So only about 50 bucks a week. I think it's pretty reasonable. I cooked almost every single night and I made a lot of lunches too. But I did eat school lunch because I was an elementary and junior high school JET. I ate school lunch about 3 days a week, and this all totaled up to around 5,000 yen a month. So when I went to the city, I kind of spent a lot of money because there's not much to do or eat in my countryside town. So it was about 15,000 a month for that. And then my cell phone bill was really reasonable, only 3,200 a month. You can go way, way higher. Even when we subtract all of these things from my salary of 300,000, I have a lot of money left over, right? It's pretty good. So honestly, you can really save a lot of money. You could pay back student loans on the JET program, I think, quite easily. I did not. I am like chaotic energy when it comes to money because I kind of viewed this as 2 years to have fun and travel a lot, so that's what I did. So let's move on to extra spending. For clothes, it would be anywhere from like 5 $15,000 to $25,000. Because I'm from Florida, I came over with like no winter clothes and I didn't really know how to buy it. So I spent a lot of money on that type of thing. And even for summer clothes, everything I brought over I realized was kind of too, I don't know, it felt scandalous, especially in the countryside. So I basically had to buy a whole new wardrobe. Of course, once you get like this wardrobe built up, your expenses probably will go a little lower, but Uniqlo is dangerous. It's like addictive. So, and then I'd spend about, I'd maybe buy one new game a month. So that's about 6,000 yen. This is just my hobby, and you know, I didn't really have much else to do. So then just like in general household things like shampoo and dish soap, things like that, I'd maybe say I spent about 10,000 a month. And then for subscriptions, I'd like Spotify and Amazon Prime. So that's about 1,500 a month, because I'm still leeching Netflix off my parents. So yeah, even with all that, we still have a lot of money left over. But like I said earlier, I really like to travel. I'd go somewhere at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. So that's just what my priorities were. Your priorities might be different. Maybe you don't really travel that much, and that's totally fine. So, you know, like on these 2 years of the JET program, a lot of my plans were derailed the last year because of the virus. But even before that, I went to China, I went to Korea, I've traveled all over Japan, many prefectures. I've done a lot of things that even my Japanese coworkers haven't done. So for me personally, I think the money spent was worth it. I do wish I had started saving a lot earlier though. My apartment situation was that it's kind of old and I had to buy a lot of things, a lot of furniture, like a mattress, a bed, TV, everything like that. Especially at the beginning, I was really saving no money and I was down to like the last cents in my account. So yeah, with all this leftover money, basically I would just use it to go towards travel expenses, or maybe I'd, you know, make a splurge purchase like I bought a PS4. Really, I think like one of the hard things with JET is that your holidays are the same as like school holidays. So when you can travel a lot of the times, the prices are going to be pretty high, like for New Year's or Golden Week. You know, just going to Korea for Golden Week, I think the plane ticket was like $500 almost. And that's when I bought it like 5 months in advance. I know what you're thinking, this still doesn't seem like enough, but you know, there's just a bunch of random things that aren't really monthly expenses, but I spend money on, like a new humidifier, or maybe I see a cute purse, that type of thing. So let's move on to really what is the most expensive part of living in Japan, and that is just paying to live here. So just sales tax alone is currently 10%. So prior to this year, US jets especially were exempt from paying like residence and income tax in Japan for 2 years. This is no longer the case. So if you watch one of these videos that's dated back about a year or more, it probably won't mention this. But yes, right now, all jets, once you come over, you will be subject to residence and income tax in Japan. So the way this works is it's based on your previous year's income. So once you first come here for the first year, it'll probably be pretty low. But for residence tax, you should expect to pay between 140,000 and 200,000, just depending on your income and, you know, what year you are in the JET program. So this is like a lot of money. So as I mentioned earlier, some contracting organizations will pay for this out of your paycheck and you won't have to worry about it. But other COs will just make you pay for it on your own. You'll get a thing in the mail and you'll have two options. You can either pay the full amount in one go, or you can do it in a plan, I think 3 or 4 separate payments. So be careful about this, and after you get your first paycheck, ask your CO to explain what exactly each line item is, and then take notes on it so you know what you're already paying for and what expenses you're gonna have to watch out for. And then income tax, it should come out already. It's only between 5,000 and 8,000 yen a month, I think. So really it's not that big of an expense. Really the residence tax is the one you have to be careful for, because a lot of people don't realize the payment is coming, because you know, it adds up to 2/3 of a single paycheck. So if you don't have any savings and it just comes suddenly, you're gonna be living roughly for 1 month. Also, just a quick note, at least for American jets, you do have to file taxes in America, but you shouldn't be subject to any unless you are making a ton of money, doing something I don't know about. But as a Jet, you do not make anywhere near the requirement to have to pay foreign earned income tax. So if you have a car like I did, there's a lot of expenses that come with it that you probably won't realize. So one of these is car tax, which comes in the mail around May. And it's kind of like inconspicuous, so be careful not to throw it out just because it's a bunch of Japanese words with no English on it. This can be anywhere between 30,000 to 100,000, just depending on your individual car's emission. And you have to pay this. Do not let it, you know, get by you. If you do accidentally throw it out and you realize you think you haven't gotten one, then talk to your CO about it, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you haven't paid it. Because you need it for shucking, and if you want to sell your car, you need it. So shucking really just, you know, it's the car safety inspection basically. So you have to get it done every 2 years. Depends on what your car has on it when you buy it. You should definitely not buy a car without knowing how much shucking is on it, because this significantly influences the price on cars when you're buying them at this lower price range that most, you know, Jets are. So you should budget about 70,000 yen all the way up to 120,000 yen. You know, it just depends on your car's situation, and if it's a yellow plate or a white plate costs more. And then related to cars, there's gas. So my CO, I was so lucky that they subsidized my gas. So they took the work distance from my apartment to each school I went to, and they'd calculate it somehow, and they'd just give me an extra few $100 every 2 months. So this covered the gas that I used to go to work, and I think a little extra, honestly. So really the day-to-day car stuff isn't really that much money. But of course there's so many other things you have to watch out for. My car was kind of a piece of crap and it, you know, it broke down kind of like 2 or 3 times. And those repairs really add up. They're expensive. If you live in a winter climate, you have to get your car tires changed from summer to winter, this type of thing. Maybe you have to buy new tires like I did. Really, a lot of my money was just to these little random purchases that you don't think about. So really, the Jet program I think pays a really good salary where you can live super comfortably on. You just have to be a bit more careful than me when, you know, you're spending your money. Of course, I was able to save a lot more my last year because kind of like the wow factor of Japan wore off, and then, you know, I couldn't leave my house for a few months. Alright you guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below if you have any questions. My name's Allison. See you next time.